Recording.
Hi everybody, and welcome to a meet and greet with the Access Possibilities School teachers.
Yay.
Hello! I'm here with, my name is Diva Diaz, and I'm here with the wonderful teachers of the Access Possibilities School. We have Miss Christine DiDomenico, who is the principal. We have Sylvia Puentes and Adelle King and Simone Padur. So we wanted to do this little get together with everybody so that you all online could meet the teachers, see what it was like to actually interact on this amazing software that we're going to be using for the school. So it's for kids and for adults, which is actually part of the very, very exciting news that we're going to be talking about today. There's been a lot of changes and new additions to the school, and one of them is that we are going to be offering adult courses now.
Yay.
So yay! Exactly. So we're going to be talking a little bit with the teachers, asking them more about themselves, what it's been like putting the school together, and what the school has to offer. So would you each be willing to just tell us a bit about who you are, what you do, what you teach, and just a little bit more about what it is to be a teacher for the Access Possibilities School?
Sure, I'll start. I'm Christine DiDomenico, and I have been a teacher for 32 years in a suburban public school in New York State, outside New York City. I've been a phys ed teacher and just recently retired from that position. And I'm also a parent of 3 adult children, 2 who had labels in school, ADD, learning disability. I've done a lot of work in the school with professional development with teachers. My role in Access Possibility School is the principal, and I'll also be teaching the physical education and health program. So I've done a lot of work with curriculum development, professional development, just community development within my school the past 32 years. So I'm really excited to be part of this school because I've really seen a change in education over 32 years, and I've seen how the box of school has gotten so much smaller and has been more and more difficult for kids to be who they are. So I'm just really excited to be part of something really different here at the Access Possibility School.
Awesome, thank you. And I see we have some people joining us from around the world. Your cameras and sound probably will come on automatically. They don't have to. We may shut you off, but thank you so much for joining us. Who wants to go next?
So great. So I'd like to introduce myself. I'm Sylvia Puentes, and super delighted to be part of the Access Possibility School. It's funny, I started to count the years. I'm like, wow, I've been in education for like 20 years. And I know I don't look that. I mean, I just turned 20, so it's been since birth. But there is something that I know, and I think I've always known that was possible in the classroom with kids that, after, a certain amount of years, I actually stepped out of the classroom because I thought, what else could I create? It was a question of what else. So I started to venture and do, I created an academic parent coaching program, tutoring kids, working with different schools and teachers. So different things of that sort. And I've been also teaching adults Spanish and English, tutoring kids from kindergarten all the way through high school. So there really is this joy of teaching and being with kids. And now getting to add the Access Possibility, the Access Consciousness tools has just made it that much more fun, that much quicker and easier, and bringing that and rediscovering that joy of learning. So I'm excited to be a part of the school. I'll be teaching kindergarten and middle school math and Spanish, and some adult classes, which we're starting with Spanish 101, and then we're moving into Spanish 102. So look for those. Yeah, so thank you.
Nice, thank you.
Hi, so I am Adelle, and I'm excited to be here with everyone. I have always loved kids, and people around me just see how I light up around them. And I have a dual master's in early childhood and childhood education, and I've taught a variety of ages within that. And the classes that I will be teaching with the Access Possibilities School are first grade and second grade with some third. It's a combined class. as well as English for adults, both people who are non-English speakers. That class is available starting in September. And then there's another class coming for people who do speak English and would like to know more about some of the vocabulary of Access and delve into the words and the meaning behind the words and really explore the language. So I'm excited to be playing with you, as well as middle school science, that as well, and tutoring for all different subjects. And really excited, like Sylvia said, to be able to use the Access tools and see what's possible when people are able to tap into how they learn and what they know.
Yeah. Awesome.
Simone, Padur, and I started teaching largely because it was fun for me. I really like being around kids. They still have a sense of fun and know how to play, and I love that. I'm so grateful I get to do that every day. And empowering kids is a huge thing for me. And I saw when I was doing my teacher training and working in regular schools that really that's not something that's given to kids. Choice isn't given to kids. And I've been fortunate enough to work in different schools where that was encouraged, and I saw how much changed for kids. And then given this amazing possibility to work with these fabulous ladies for the Access Possibility School and go even further and use the Access tools and play with the magic is so exciting. So I'm going to be teaching grade 3, 4, 5. And I'm also going to be teaching social studies and English, and thrown into that is going to be some fine art as well, because I have that background, as well as music because I have that background. So I'm really excited about that. And also I'm going to be teaching French, beginner's French and later intermediate French. I have studied French since I was a really little kid, and was in French immersion until I was about 12, and then studied French in high school and university, and then lived in Montreal for 4 years. So I'm really excited to share everything I know about French and everything I can remember, and also share the culture, and that's really exciting, and the food and the film, and so I'm just delighted to be here.
Nice. Thank you. So one of the questions that we've had a lot all over the world, because I mean, we'll travel a lot and we meet people that do Access consciousness all over the world, and people who have been so intrigued by the school. They've kind of followed, the progression from years ago when it was an idea that Gary Douglas, the founder of Access, had, up until now. They've been there with us for the whole thing. And one of the questions that we get a lot is, what type of school is this? So can one of you just tell us a little bit more about the kind of school that it is?
Sure. We are an online global school for starting K through 8 with adult programs. So that means that you can join from anywhere in the world. The curriculum is based on the Texas state standards, because the Access Possibility School is based in Texas. So the curriculum we'll be following is based on the Texas state standards. And we will be working towards accreditation in Texas, which is a process that some 18 months or so.
Very cool.
Private school.
Hi, welcome. So what is different? Oh yeah, go ahead.
Even though we have these standards to follow, one of the things that we're all really cognitive of is that it's about giving fun back into learning. It's about this learning should be fun. And that's really what one of our main targets is, to have it so that kids become adults that are lifelong learners that love it, rather than it being drummed into you and hating it by the time you get to middle school. So that's a huge part of what makes us different.
Well, and Christine mentioned the standards. And I mean, I learned about standards when I was in school, so I don't know how many people are familiar with standards and what that means. But they're very broad. It's like count to 20 and, learn how to tell time. So how we do that is really open to us and what we bring to the classroom. And so that's where we get to have fun with it and play and teach to what the kids are interested in, what the adults are interested in, and do it in a way that's actually both relevant and pragmatic and inspirational, and just fun. So that's really exciting.
Well, and it's interesting that you will say that, because I know that, like, you know, speaking with people around the world and at some of the meetings that we've had, one of the questions that also comes up is what does it look like exactly to have a school that uses the access consciousness tools? Like, how does that even work? You know, is it just an access school, or is it a regular school with tools added? So can you all speak a little bit as to like what that is for you and how that will be delivered in the classes?
I'll speak a little to that. And for me, I mean, someone asked me recently, like, you know, well, how do you integrate the access consciousness tools? And the way I see the access consciousness tools is really you're adding them to your life. So in a sense, we're adding them, and we are being them as teachers and the tools that we have. And this level of being in the space of allowance and no judgment with kids is huge. So that's really the basis. And as kids have different things come up, we'll have different questions we can ask them for them to tap into what they know, or perhaps, you know, the lies that they've bought of what they don't know or can't do. So it's really using the tools for them to just have more space for them to be them and not judge themselves as well, that I feel is huge, that we can offer here in the Access Possibility School. So.
Yeah, I think that's a really important part of it, is just what we bring as facilitators and the space that we be with kids, because I have seen the greatest change in kids. I've done a lot of tutoring. I had a tutoring center for 3 years. And for a while it was like, all right, so I see these kids changing, but what is it that I'm doing? And then I realized it wasn't what I was doing at all. It was what I was being with them in the space of allowance and the space to allow them to be who they are, and to ask them questions to allow them to see how amazing they are, even though at school maybe they're not doing well, and getting them to acknowledge all the greatness they are beyond, you know, that academic work that might not be going exactly the way other people think it should be going. And that's where I've really seen the greatest change. And getting kids to notice where they have points of view that are limiting them. One of the activities I would do with kids is to take all of that, whatever's going on where you have decided you're limited, and put it in a bubble and pop it. And, you know, it was a fun way. It was access tools used in a different way for kids, and they loved it.
Mm-hmm.
That is awesome, because I know that you will actually use the tools anyway. Like, as you said, you're facilitators, so you're using them in the classes you facilitate, in your daily lives, but also in the work that you do. Will it be very different doing it online, do you think, than in person?
I mean, well, everybody's getting a glimpse of what class would be like in a sense right now with all of us. So, you know, being able to see each other, I don't see that it will. Other than maybe hands-on, that hug. Maybe I can work on a virtual hug.
Yeah, and actually, you know, like, because we've done demos, and we've all kind of tested out the software and all of that, and it's been, I have to say, it's so fun. Like, I actually want to like start school again. I hated school. I wanted to do the lessons. Yeah. So I'm so excited about it as well. So who is this school for as well? That's another question that we've had lots of people send in. Like, is it for everyone? Is it for people who are being homeschooled? Is it, you know, who is it for?
Anyone who'd like to enjoy learning. I think there's a lot of kids, Christine kind of was touching on it, like, who are struggling in school, but they're brilliant in different ways that might not necessarily fit the mold of this is how we do school. So those kids can invite kids who are homeschooling, kids whose parents travel a lot and require a different way of getting to class and getting an education. It is a traditional education in the sense of we are still educating kids with the standards so that they are getting an education. it's a private school education. It's just done online. So anyone who would like to just enjoy and have fun with learning.
And kids that are really brilliant and maybe in their school they don't have the opportunity to excel, that they have to kind of stay in line with everyone else and go at the pace of everyone else. At the Access Possibility School, there'll be so much more choice in how they learn, the choices that they do for projects. There's just going to be so much more opportunity there for kids in any level. So if they need to go at a slower pace, they can move at a slower pace. If they want to move at a faster pace, they'll have that possibility also.
And the great thing about the platform Zoom is that we get to record every class. So if you do want to go watch the class again and maybe, listen to the instructions again or whatever the activity was, you get to do that. So to know that you have that available. I know for me, sometimes that's helpful, and you can't always write your notes as quickly, as the teacher is speaking. So this is just another way to, another great application to our platform of Zoom.
And one of the things I love about Zoom is that we can share our screen. So anything that we can do on our computer, we can do as part of our class and our lesson. And just in one of the meetings that we were having among the teachers, we were talking about something and I was like, oh, I can do that in Photoshop. And I happened to be sharing my screen and I pulled it up and they were like, we've never seen Photoshop before. Like, what are you doing? So literally anything that I'm able to do on my computer, I can then share with students and with everybody else. It's so much fun.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. And it really works well for kids who, maybe have a short attention span or need more hands-on work, because the way our daily schedule works is that they have a block and then they have some time to go off and work or take a breather or that kind of thing. And because it's half a day of virtual classroom and then the other half is doing their projects, it gives them that sense of having more choice, having more control over what they would like to choose. And I know for me, that would have worked a lot better. So, sorry, Diva, go ahead.
Yeah, no, for me too. Well, I was just going to say, for everybody watching this, everywhere that you're seeing on the screen, the little cameras and the little blocks, that's actually how the students will see each other. We've just taken off all the cameras because, otherwise we'll just all be having this big conversation and we really just wanted to focus on the teachers. But yeah, it's so easy, like you guys have said, and it's really, really user-friendly. I mean, I kind of came on at the very beginning with Zoom and it was just so easy to use. It was just, you didn't really have to figure anything out. You just kind of see the icons and you know exactly what to do. So if we can use it, I'm pretty sure that kids and adults can use it too. Yeah. So can you guys tell us a little bit more about the new adult classes and what people can expect with those, what's on offer, and yeah, just a little bit more about that.
Well, there's a lot of excitement right now from the adults. It's interesting, as we started creating the Access Possibility School, there was a lot of people like, wow, I would so have loved to have been in a school, like this. And that was just comment after comment we used to hear. And as we started to create our schedule and our curriculum, and when someone mentioned, it's like, wow, I would like to be in there. Is there any way we can have a Spanish class, or maybe I'll do a tutoring session? Is there an age limit? So out of that, it really was the possibility of offering it for adults, expanded really what we can offer in Access Possibility School. And there is so much energy that I think one of our classes is almost full. So I'll be doing a Spanish 101, and I'm offering it 2 times, twice a week, and to give people opportunities in different time zones. So really, really excited about that. And now as adults, it's like, wow, what if whatever we bought about that we could learn or couldn't learn, we can actually clear that and begin to have fun tapping into what it is that we do know when it comes into Spanish. And how can you use that as you travel around the world or go down to the market? I mean, I'm really excited about the possibility that when the class got started and we opened it up, I had a handful of people already approach me like, oh my gosh, I'm already using the Spanish I know. There's already the change happening where people are feeling a little more at ease. And so it's like, what else is possible once the class actually starts? And that'll be September 8th. So you can go to the Access Possibility School to read the description and join us.
And we'll be adding more and more programs as we go along, and the interest is there. Also, we've been talking about some cultural programs, to learn about the culture of Costa Rica, of South Africa. So it's really exciting, the ideas that are popping.
I'm also offering English, so English for non-English speakers, so basic travel English, as well as with a flavor of access language, so some of the words that come up a lot in the access classes to make it a little easier to be in the access classes, follow what's going on, and have the basic knowledge both to get around and travel, as well as be in the classes. And that starts on September 12th, and that's also twice a week. It's one time zone, because I didn't include Australia and the US. I figure they mostly know English, but for the European and Asian time zones.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Which is already so different. I mean, like in the online school to offer like different time zones, so many different programs, constantly be adding stuff. I mean, even just the creation of this has been such an adventure with all of you. You know, we've been just adding and adding and adding, and when something doesn't work, it changes instantly, and then we add something else. So that's such an interesting, cool energy, because that's actually the energy of what, you know, access consciousness is, and being in the question and inviting people to. So I'm excited also to see what that will create, you know, in the world.
Yeah, even with the creation of the English class, like the English speakers were like, well, I want to know more about the language of access. And like, there are words that people don't even realize are real words. And I was like, those are real words. They're in the dictionary. I'd be happy to talk to you guys about them. And there was so much interest in that. I was like, all right, let's create it. If there's the interest, like, let's go. Fun with that. So totally.
Sorry.
We always speak at the same time. Go ahead.
So as I mentioned, I'm going to be teaching adult French, 101 to start with, and then 102 later, intermediate. I was so surprised to, like, you guys started talking about language class. I'm like, well, I could do French. And then I thought, wow, I'm really excited about this, which is really funny because I was forced to take French and forced to learn the language, and I didn't have a good time with it. And I remember there was a point in university where the professor started talking about the history of the language and how it related to something. And I remember him talking about barbers and how they used to be surgeons as well. And that red and white line of the barber's pole was actually the red blood on the cloth and the clean white blood, or white cloth.
That's
that they had. And that stuck with me. And I was like, wow, like what if French could be taught like this, where it's like living and breathing? And so that to me that's my target, is to make French come alive so that it's something that you can like imbibe, rather than just like, I was watching Flight of the Conchords, if anybody's seen them. They do this song called Fudu Fafa, and it reminded me of when I was a kid, and it's just random words that you're taught that don't string together, that are of no use to you. And so like, what if there's a different possibility? Yeah. And the interesting thing is, since I've been doing access, and I've taken it in different countries, and it's affected my capacity to listen and understand languages very quickly. And that's what I love about this with language, because for so many people it's just about repetition, and if you're a humanoid, you don't like repetition. So that's what I'm really excited about, is using these tools. And I know I'm speaking really fast, so I'm very sorry.
But that's okay. We could rewind. We're recording.
Yeah, that's awesome, and that's so true, actually. I mean, even I wanted to learn other languages at different times, and like just the thought of going into a classroom or having to read and memorize stuff, it just seems so boring that I fall asleep before I've even finished having the idea. So this should be very exciting for sure. So just on a more personal level, because I'm curious about this too, what made you all choose to be teachers?
The kids.
Well, it's interesting.
Are so brilliant, and seeing that moment where there's something that someone has decided they can't do, or they're just not there yet, they've never tried it before, and then that shift, that moment where all of a sudden they're like doing it. And sometimes we don't even realize, like, I taught preschool for a long time. So like a lot of it was like, oh, I can't reach that thing, or I can't do that thing. And then all of a sudden it's like, hey, look, you're doing that thing that you couldn't do. And like being part of that process for people and being that person that can acknowledge it and bring their attention, their awareness to like, oh my gosh, yeah, I can do that thing that I thought I couldn't do, is so fulfilling. So for me, that has been the joy of it. But yeah, it was really just kids, and especially in Access, we talk so much about being. Like what you can learn from kids about being is just phenomenal. So contributing to that, and then and then adults too. Bringing that into the mix and just sharing that joy of learning, bringing that to education.
I think for me, it was, I just always got kids. I babysat, I worked at camps, I worked in elementary school, and I just got them in a different way than I saw other people getting them. And I think it was because of the way I was, and the ways that I was getting information were different than they were trying to teach us in school. And I would see kids just kind of checking out or not getting it, and I would be so aware of that. And so it was just always something I was going to do, was work with kids.
Yeah, and for me, it was interesting. I recall a moment when I started to hear adults speak of how they didn't like school, or they, all those limitations, I can't learn this. And I thought, wow. And I remember asking one particular person, I said, well, when did that start? Like, when did you stop liking school? And he went all the way back to his elementary years of, his interactions with his teachers. So as I was looking at going into education, I thought, okay, I'm going to start in kindergarten, where those real formative kind of interactions with teachers make such a huge impact. So that's where I started. I started in kindergarten and then moved through the grades, first grade, third grade, and then with adults. And I really, for me, I think it's, that presence, the no judgment, the allowance, that once you have that space, learning is easy. There's this speed that shows up when you're that space. So that continues to inspire me. I mean, I'm teaching adult classes now, and it just excites me to see people relax into learning and have fun. Like all of a sudden they start to glow. And you can see it as a teacher. Like when you're watching them, you see the change. So that, there's lots of stories of change of children and adults as I've taught over 20 years now.
I didn't want to be a teacher.
I was just going to say that. I was like, as you guys were talking, I'm remembering, I actually didn't want to be a teacher.
And I fought against it. I did 6 years of university trying everything under the sun instead of teaching. Like I did not want to do it. And then I got to my end of my 6 years, and I found that every summer job I had pretty much was working with kids. And it was, so I really looked at it because I didn't want to do anything, the other things that I thought I wanted to do. And I changed my major so many times. That's why it took me 6 years to get my degree. And so I actually volunteered with a special ed, so kids with behavioral problems or ADD, ADHD, dyslexia, all of that stuff in a high school for a year, and did an after school program. And because I really wanted to be sure that this is what I'd like to do. And it was amazing because even those kids that, were fetal alcohol syndrome, crawling the walls, jumping out the windows, pulling each other's pants down, I still loved every moment of it. I mean, some days I went home and I was like, what am I doing? But the challenge and the excitement of, exactly what everybody else was talking about, that ignition of, I got it, is so amazing. And so from then I started teaching, like doing practicums and stuff like that. And it was so easy. It was like breathing. And every day I would go home and I'm like, people pay me to do this. I don't understand why they do that. So I knew I'd found something that was just ease, joy, and glory for me. And I'm so grateful I did.
That is awesome. And it's interesting because, this is quite a big choice for all of you guys too, like actually choosing to be like, okay, I am now going to teach in the Access Possibility School. Like, what do you see as possible that the school can and will create in the world that led you to actually choose that and be like, okay, I'm doing this?
I think one of the things that, we all had a meeting with Gary Douglas, the founder of Access Consciousness, and one of the things that showed up for me in that meeting with him, discussion, was that I became aware of how for years I've been asking for something like this. Like I knew I was aware of that there was something else available. I'm actually checking up a bit because I remember I was teaching third grade and the standards, the testing started to show up. And it was just all these requirements that at the end of the day, it was like, okay, so I'm on chapter 3, page 55. Okay, and now what? Like I started to realize like that connection and being with the students was missing. So I did resign my teaching position, which people thought I was crazy, but it just wasn't working and I knew something else was possible. And so I continued to choose different things. So when this possibility showed up, I was like, it was light and expansive. And knowing that we were part of a team that was looking to create something that's never been seen before, I would really like to have a world of adults and kids that are excited about learning, that know that they can, look to whether it's a language, whether it's, anything, and know that they can get more information, tap into what it is that they know, and have success and ease with it. I'm thrilled. Yeah.
And for me, it was working with kids to allow them to get out of the wrongness of them, because that's what I see so much in the public school, how so many kids feel like there's something wrong with them, and that they don't really get too many choices. I worked with a football team once, and I was talking to them, and I asked them, how much of what you're doing in your life is because you want to do this, and how much is it because you think you're supposed to do all of these things you're involved in? And you could feel the energy in the room, like, and that just opened my eyes so much to the fact that so much of what is going on in kids' lives is controlled by other people and not their choice. And the Access Possibility School is different in that way. It does allow kids to have choice.
I've actually been looking for this for quite a while. It's actually the reason I became an Access Consciousness facilitator, is that there was whispers of schools, and then there was going to be one in Australia, which happened, but then had to shut down because of distance and stuff like that. And I loved being a facilitator, doing that, but always in mind, like, what are the possibilities? What are the possibilities? What are the possibilities? Because the route that I've taken in the jobs that I've chosen have shown me that other things are possible, but it's like I hit a wall. Like, it's an amazing system or whatever that they're using, but I know that there's that one step further that, they can get rid of those limitations, that they can step beyond that. They can step into that magic of being and just enjoying who they are, like, every day. And so that happiness quotient is huge, because even though I've done lots of different sort of types of jobs, that's always missing. And I actually saw an article the other day that had nothing to do with Access itself, that was like, what questions could you ask your kid so they could be happier? And I was like, oh, it's getting out there. That's so exciting. So that's huge for me, is that, kids are going to choose what they're going to choose, but to give them those tools to choose to be happy if they wish to be is huge for me. So that's for this school, that's the possibility that I was looking for.
For me, it's largely tied into the reasons that I didn't want to be a teacher originally. Like, there's something similar to Simone, like what I knew was possible with education, what I knew could be like the joy and the fun of learning. And then I even heard schools talking about it and in their programs and what their targets were and what they wanted to implement and work towards. And then the reality of that, even in some of the greatest schools, it just wasn't matching. Like they just weren't getting there. And it was really frustrating to me. And I could see it was really frustrating for the parents and the kids, and it just became really challenging to be in that environment. So I kind of would like dive into teaching and then dive out of it, and then dive into it and then dive out of it. And with this, it just seemed like the possibility to actually create that joy of learning without the frustration and all of the other stuff. So that's part of it.
You said that actually, because it is the possibility to create that, which is very different as well, because it's actually continuous co-creation with you, the teachers, with the students, with every child, with every adult, with every little piece of feedback that we get from parents, from kids, of like, oh, this was a bit difficult to use. Oh, this was great. You know, even there we've been making changes to the software that we're using because of that.
And that's a huge piece. It is that willingness. Sorry about the background noise. It's that willingness to change. Yeah. Where a lot of times in the schools I'd see, it was like, we're going to do this program and we've just done this and now we're going to do this. And it's like, well, okay, it was a great idea and it's not working quite the way we thought it was, but no, we're doing this and we're going to do it this way. And that willingness to change and look at what's going to work and what's required is so different.
Yeah. It is. It's really empowering. It's really magical. So I know that we're kind of, coming to the end of this, but I did just want to ask you all, what would be like, I don't know, like one of your favorite tools that you guys use in the classroom, or something that people can take away today that would just like empower them to a different possibility, even with, knowing that they can learn something different and it's not going to be how they've learned things before, perhaps for an adult who's considering taking one of the language classes, or a child who might want to do some private tuition and, whatever it is that they want to learn or expand their skills on.
I think one of the tools that comes to mind quickly for me is a question. And I use it, and it's really, the question is, what is it that I do know about this? Mm-hmm. So if you could ask your child, well, what is it that you do know when they're getting frustrated? And it might be at first, I don't know. It's like, well, okay, what, if you can think of one thing, or if there's one thing, like, what would that be? It's just it's a muscle really to begin to acknowledge that we do know. And it's such a gift to start with kids at a young age, and, any age really, but to begin to ask, what is it that I do know here? Rather than going into that, I don't know, and I can't. So that would be one tool that I would like.
Cool. Thank you.
Mm-hmm.
And I go along with that with a question, and in particular, a question that I have found to create massive change is when I have asked, before I go into a session or into a class, what contribution can I be to my students, or what contribution can I be to the school? And just teaching kids to ask that question, if I don't know this, who or what can contribute to me having this information? And that it's like, whoa, it just opens up these possibilities.
The one that popped into my head first is really one of like the first really basic access tools of what else is possible. And really looking at like, what choice do I have here? And I'm thinking of like with math, where it's taught like a certain way, and it's like, this is the way, well, what else is possible? Like, and what choice do I have here? What would work for me? So kind of looking at those tools of questions and playing with like, all right, I know for me that was a big frustration for me in school. Like, this is how it's taught. This is the way we're doing it. Well, what else is possible? What do I know? How do I learn? Kind of tapping into that.
I would say, and I've been using this a lot actually lately because I'm moving, is what requires my attention. Because that allows me, especially with somebody who has a bit of ADD going on anyway, it allows me to sort of talk to my projects almost, or, my boxes at the minute. And it gives you a sense of ease. You can move from one task to the other. And it might be that you just do a few minutes on this task and then you move to another one, or you take a break and have a cookie, or whatever that is. But particularly for kids that do have a shorter attention span, like myself, it allows them to move through their homework, tidying their room, whatever that is, with total ease, rather than having to force themselves to finish it till the end. Because they actually get a lot more done if you give them, and I learned this piece from Deepa, by the way, a lot more done when you can have a multiple tasks going on. And it looks crazy, but it works.
Yeah. Gosh, I love these so much. And actually, as you're all talking, it's just becoming so clear. I mean, it already was clear, but really just kind of like getting the energy of, you know, like even with the adults taking the classes, it's like, yeah, you might just be taking a French class or just a Spanish class or just an English class, but these really are like life tools.
Yeah.
You know, like what like knock-on effect is that going to have in the rest of your life? Just the same way as like you'd go to an Access body class and you think you're just working on your body, but your whole life changes. I wonder how much that's actually what the school is inviting everybody to, and you know, what is possible that we haven't even considered yet. So yeah, thank you so much to all of you, and also to everyone that's been helping with the creation of the school. Of course, there's Anne Maxwell, Simone Millicent, Stephanie Richardson, Michelle Edhouse, Gary and Dane, of course, and so many other people in the background. And also, if you are watching and you would like to find out more, the website is accesspossibilitiesschool.com. So we will have all the information about the very, very new classes. We're still putting that up. We're working on it because we literally chose this in the last like 48 hours or so. But you can start signing up already at accessconsciousness.com. If you go to facilitators and search for any one of these lovely ladies, you can find it there, or you can also find the classes under the class listings. So thank you again, teachers. And we're very excited for the start of school on the 8th of September. We're having people say thank you. Thank you from Anne Clark. Thank you, guys. Thank you all for watching. And yeah, hopefully we will be seeing you very soon at the school.
Thank you.
Thank
you.
you.
Thank you.
Bye.